Well, normally I don't plan my performance ahead so much, uh, especially in the open situation like this. Uh, because I don't want to miss something that happened on the way. Yeah. Because if I plan something ahead, uh, then it might not happen. Then I waste my time. So, but anyway, I think this performance came when we were in the river, and it, when I was a boy, we we normally go to the river. We we take we take baths in the river, and my family washing clothes in the river. So as a kids we were playing, and one of the games that we playing among our friends is to collect stones. And then we will come up with the stone contest, who has the most beautiful stone. If you collect more color stones than others, and then you win. And when you win, it means that you can hit your friends, one at a time, at each other. So that's the award. Uh, then I think I've grown up. The stone must be bigger. And one of the stories behind me all the time was about the mountains. Because Nan, it's surrounded by the mountain, and mountain is our myth. So stones and the mountains, somehow they're related. Whether stone make mountain or mountain becoming a stone, I don't know. Yeah. So I think that's how the performance coming about. And I always like the idea of legends and old funny story. There was a Chinese story about an old man moving the mountain because the mountains get on his way to his house. So he spent days, years, just to dig the mountains, to pave the way to go to his house. And I think this is fascinating story. Yeah. So I take that kind of idea, to go around. And I think this story is still hanging up somewhere in my, in the back of my head. I think it was very fascinating. Yeah. That's how I come up with the rock, big rock, with the name mountains written on it. Yeah.
And why draw around it? What was the action of tracing the rock?
To move the mountains, it for me is to move yourself, to move something really really hard to yourself on the edge. As a performance artist, as an artist, we always moving on the edge. We are not on the right side or on the wrong side. We always try to be on the path that is almost fall. And so I think to move the right way to move the mountain is to move it near where it almost falls. Yeah, and that's how I plan my performance. Yeah.
รู้สึกแบบว่าดีใจมากที่แบบว่าได้ร่วมงานแบบครั้งนี้กับแบบศิลปินแบบที่หลากหลายจากหลากหลายเนี่ยค่ะแล้วก็เราคือเหมือนพอได้มาร่วมโปรแกรมเนี้ยก็ได้แบบมีการซูมมีการแบบพูดคุยกันแล้วก็เราก็ได้มาแบบมา residency ที่นี่ที่น่านแล้วก็คือแบบได้เรียนรู้จากแบบการที่เราได้ประชุมด้วยกันทุกครั้งอะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะแล้วก็การที่พอ performance ที่น่านอะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะแล้วก็หลังจากนั้นเราก็มีการ ทำโปรเจกต์ต่อเนื่องอะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะก็คือเหมือนแบบเราใช้ความไว้เนื้อเชื่อใจกันในการแบบที่จะทำให้มันดำเนินต่อไปแล้วก็แสดงสิ่งที่เราแบบโปรเจกต์นี้ออกมาเนี่ยค่ะตั้งแต่ชุดที่เลือกก็จากการเดินทางแบบระยะทางที่ผ่านมาแล้วก็เลือกไม้ที่โดนไฟไหม้ไปครึ่งนึงแล้วก็โคมสีแดงก็เลือกจากวัดที่เราได้ไปเดินทางร่วมกันมีประสบการณ์ร่วมกันอะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะก็นำมันมาใช้ในผลงานเดินทางด้วยกันแล้วก็ไปเจอแมททีเรียลเจออ็อบเจกต์พวกนั้นแล้วก็นำมาใช้ก็เหตุผลที่เลือกไม้ที่โดนเผาไหม้ไปครึ่งนึงเพราะว่ามันก็มีช่วงเวลาที่แบบเราคิดถึงแบบธรรมชาติที่ตอนนี้กำลัง climate change มันก็ทำให้แบบสภาพแวดล้อมเปลี่ยนแปลงแบบธรรมชาติเปลี่ยนไปน้ำเปลี่ยนไปคิดว่ามันสัมพันธ์กับมนุษย์ด้วยนะคะแล้วก็เลยใช้ไม้ที่ถูกไหม้ไปครึ่งนึงมาใช้ในผลงานมันแสดงถึงความทุกข์ที่แบบธรรมชาติมีแล้วก็มนุษย์มีนะคะก็เอาไม้มาสไลด์คือเอามาถูทาไปตามตัวอะไรเงี้ยก็เหมือนแบบว่าให้ร่างกายเป็นพื้นที่รองรับแล้วก็เลือกไมโครโฟนที่ถูกห้อยลงมาเหมือนเป็นการแบบที่จะแบบแสดงออกให้มันส่งเสียงด้วยศิลปะ performance อะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะโบ๊ทได้เลือกโคมสีแดงจากวัดที่เราไปด้วยกันมาอะค่ะแล้วก็ข้างในโคมมีน้ำอยู่ในนั้นก็คือตอนที่เอามาแสดงก็คือโคมเนี่ยเป็นสัญลักษณ์ของความหวังที่อยากจะให้มันแบบมีความเปลี่ยนแปลงไปในทางที่ดีขึ้นอะไรเงี้ยค่ะจุดประกายแบบให้คนตระหนักถึงความทุกข์ของทั้งมนุษย์แล้วก็ธรรมชาตินะคะก็เลยเหมือนการที่ชูโคมสีแดงขึ้นแล้วก็ให้น้ำมันไหลผ่านร่างกายเพื่อแบบชะล้างเท่าฐานที่ถูกแบบถูตามตัวอะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะก็เหมือนแบบความหวังที่เราอยากจะให้ความทุกข์นี้มันหายไปความเป็นผู้หญิงในแบบที่เราเป็นอย่างเงี้ยค่ะก็คือผู้หญิงในวัฒนธรรมแบบไทยเงี้ยค่ะแล้วก็แต่ว่าเราก็พยายามจะแสดงความเป็นเราที่อยู่ภายใต้เงื่อนไขต่างๆออกมาใช่ค่ะก็คือเหมือนมีใช้ไฟเอามาไว้ที่ตรงนั้นแล้วกระจกที่นำมาใช้ก็คืออยากให้มันสะท้อนงาน performance แล้วก็สะท้อนสิ่งที่เราอยากจะเล่าไปถึงผู้ชมเนี่ย
was really, the materials, I was a little bit like Chumpon. I didn't want to have too many ideas coming on arriving. I had some ideas just as a backup, but I wanted to be fresh because most of my work is site specific, especially from the dance background. So I'll usually kind of look at the site, but of course, you know, it's a stage. So that's kind of the irony, isn't it? That you have a stage in a otherwise very site-specific location. So I was looking around, and in the back shed behind the stage, found that big sheet of rusted corrugated iron and a farming hoe and some coal, and so I wanted to work with those materials that were kind of about the rural experience. But I was also really thinking about the coming from Bangkok and all of these political things that were going on, you know, as you guys have been talking about Myanmar and the student protests in Bangkok. And I was really interested in that, in the contrast between the urban and the rural anyway. And it's an interesting way to understand Thailand because, of course, there's very different kind of political, you know, alliances with rural and urban perhaps, and also depending on demographics and how old people are. But of course, you know, most families have this movement backwards and forwards from the city to the provinces. So there's something really unique about Thailand that's super interesting. So even within one family, you have these big differences. And also, of course, the country is, the rural is where the food comes from. And I work with food a fair bit. I'm really interested in food. So I was trying to, the way that I used the materials, I found the corrugated iron sheet. To me, when I wrapped it around and had it vertical, the corrugated curves reminded me of a Corinthian column. You know, the Roman column.
Yeah.
So it was like an icon of power, of architectural power. But at the same time, of course, it's from the farm. And then you remember Nicholas Kahn? So we had another person from the UK in London, a guy who does things like using Touch Designer. So it was, I think it was mainly for my piece, but it was great to have the live feed going into Touch Designer, and he was mashing it up, and you know, the image was getting kind of torn and blurred, and then that was coming out over the projector. So it was good to experiment with a few things that I think hadn't been done so much before. You know, usually, you know, I really like the simplicity that a lot of performance artists just use. One simple action, one material, you know, you with the rock, but my brain's going all over the place, and I just try to do too much, and I can't help myself. But I was trying to explore, you know, where is there kind of like a concept where, because it feels like nowadays everybody's struggling to cook up some new relationship in society and politics, some new configuration that can get us out of this blocked, you know, crazy, static, not being able to, you know, change anything. And so that's kind of what putting the coals onto the hoe and then sort of like stoking them like a fire, but I'm stoking them with the mobile phone because, you know, the mobile phone was an icon of the protests. Yeah. So like I'm trying to cook up something. Cook up something new, you know, we're trying to find something, some way of moving forward.
People.
Yeah.
Device, contemporary device for the people.
but try to mix it with the old tools as well. You know, the hoe is the old tool, and this is the new tool. And if we can combine them somehow, maybe we can create what we need. And then the last, if you remember the very end of it, when you came on, Toy, at the end, and I had the corrugated iron up there, and I'm like eating, oh wow,
It was nice image.
eating coal in the plastic. It goes right into your teeth and right into your brain, and down your spine. It's horrible sensation, but I think very strong feeling. Yeah.
When I thinking about the work I will make in our project, that's why I think about the Myanmar situation on that time. On my work, I use actions is the walking on the streets, walking around, and also cross the kernels, cross the way left to right to left, and walking around. And I use materials like the pot made from aluminum to make a sound. Interesting one, the action is connect with the protection in Myanmar. At that time, they use the idea. It's like the belief about how we will we will make the bad things run away. We make a sound from the steel, from the aluminum, from some screw in the kitchen to make noise, and then can make the bad thing is run away from us, something like that. And that time, the people in Myanmar, especially in Yangon, they make this. Also, the artists in Myanmar, they make this with the people around the Yangon. Then I got inspiration that, and also in Thailand we have that idea too. And then I use that action in the performance work in that time in Nan. They try to connect some feelings and some message to the people. The thinking about the Myanmar situation, also connect with the Thai situation. That's the idea on that time. Yeah. I use a sign about the cross. It's like a right or wrong. Yeah, just drawing it on the stage, on the floor, and then after that I just clean everything to clear the space. It's like make a question about the situation is right or wrong. About that, and also just make for us, we know it's wrong to do this with the people, but some people, they don't think about that. I mean, if they watching performance, just make the question to them, so something like that. And in the end, I use the cotton, the piece of cheese, and clean all the floor back to the normal thing. Yeah. Early practicing about the online performance. I remember I had to talk with Chumpon or some performance friends, thinking about how different or how perceptions about the online performance and the live performance. Because before our events, our project, I did online performance with another group For example, the translation or the be a part in Germany is different. The preparing and practice to do it. The first I did it, I feel very confused about do performance in front of the camera or the screen. It looks strange, and after try to do that 1 or 2 times, and after that try to change my perception. Just do it and prepare the techniques. Also focus on the technique about the Zoom program, about the camera, about the connections, everything. In 2 years, from 2020 to 21, I try another way. I mean, try to do the best about this situation that we cannot go to meet each other front to front, face to face, no? Just use online version to do it. And for our program, I think we very concentrate about the technique. We prepare many things, but also have some some wrong technique or some accidental. But I think this is okay because online always happen like that, accidental about internet, about the thing. But another one thing about the online performance, the perception is changed. Is my opinions. Yeah.
It was a great opportunity, you know. It just came at the right time. The world had just shut its door on everything. We were controlled by a pandemic, an illness that was spreading across the globe. And things were very dark and confused. And Chumpon approached me with the project Closer Distance, and I was delighted because it kind of gave me a little bit of hope, a little bit of light, and it actually developed into a very important project in my practice because it records and documents and has lived through one of the most difficult times in humanity. So I think it's a very special project, and we worked collectively through discussion, structuring Zoom meetings roughly about every 2 weeks or once a month in the build-up to the project. So we worked very hard to have that communication and develop trust before we were actually programmed to do anything public. Because I've been in Thailand over several years, and I have worked with a community of artists from north to south, I have a great understanding of Thai culture and art and artists. So as much as I was very isolated in Belfast, and my living room table and my backyard and 2 local parks became my spaces for creating artworks online, through the different materials that I use in performances, I tried to connect with Thailand and with whatever knowledge I had or awareness I had of the different approaches to performance by all of the 4 other artists, Chumpon, Toy, Boat and Mike. And it was so interesting because you know, you only get a certain percentage of understanding through online. You know, we're at a vanishing point, and we're missing non-verbal gestures, kind of like individual behaviour, body movement, energy, and at times it was hard, and but sometimes I had to stop myself from thinking, is this my imagination in what I think this performance is that I'm viewing online, or is this, what is this that's happening? What are the materials? Why did you decide to do that? What was happening on the other side of the screen, you know? So there's, you come away with so many questions, and then you're left by yourself again, you know, still on a screen, but disconnected. So I think the project, you know, it's called Closer Distancing, and it was definitely about challenging the distance that we have now as performance artists in Thailand and Northern Ireland and globally, and what steps we can take to approach these restrictions and approach this huge shock into our lives in a positive way and in a manageable way, and in a way that we can express ourselves and expose our creativity together. Enclosure became a huge part of my process during Closer Distancing, you know. Obviously I was the one artist that was outside Thailand, and the other 4 artists, we all did meet on Zoom in our different cities, but during the actual public event and residency, the 4 Thai artists could be physically together in Nan. And I worked from my house in Belfast on the local parks with the wonderful assistant Katherine Paisley. And I think, you know, it taught me a lot in that psychologically I was expressing to the other artists that we're in lockdown and this is how the system is working here, and we're only allowed to walk in the park for maybe 1 hour a day, 1 hour a day exercise. It was pretty intense, you know, and you're walking through these social spaces and you're thinking, right, this is a landscape, I can work here, but how am I going to do it? So you go back and you research and you walk around, you go back and you research, you go back and you look at the light, you try and understand the geography, and then you're aligning yourself in a very, for me, in a very unconscious, intuitive way with the other artists on the other side, with their consciousness. And some really beautiful moments did happen. I kind of think, are we going to get used to like not being in physical bodies with each other, you know? I mean, how is it going to work with a digital body? And there's just so many questions around performance art not having any boundaries, being boundless,